Stop running down the meh and mundane hallways of life and tap into the magical. My name is Michelle Shutter. I am a life and leadership coach for women and host of the Life Coaching Classroom podcast. I like to welcome you to Life Coaching Classroom, where we walk with you in the hallways of life so you can align to the beautiful expansiveness of your true self through reconnection, reinvention, and rejuvenation. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to class. Hey, welcome back to episode 70 on the Life Coaching Classroom podcast. This episode is titled The Heart Never Lies, and it is such a beautiful episode for you to listen to and just let it land in you exactly the way it's supposed to. Don't judge anything that comes through. Just know that whatever you're supposed to get out of this episode, you absolutely will. Whether you are a first-time listener or a repeat listener, welcome. My name is Michelle Shutter. I am a life and leadership coach for women and the creator of the Life Coaching Classroom, where we help women to really reconnect to the heart of their true self without sacrificing love, wealth, family, freedom, and fulfillment. All those values that are so deeply important to us, but we don't want to lose that at the expense of really reconnecting and being that true person we are meant to be in this world. So again, whether you are new or a repeat listener, I'm so happy that you are here and made that decision to invest in yourself, because this kind of investment is, you can't put a price tag on it, right? You just cannot put a price tag on it. So let me get into the episode. Last week, I had a coach ask, are you the person that you are meant to be right now? Or are you the person that you were conditioned to be? And when we think about conditioning, we think about all the way back to childhood, right? So we are conditioned or influenced by many different people. It could be parents, teachers, coaches, community members, friends, parents, our friends, family members, coworkers, neighbors, like you name it, right? All those people influence us in some different way. And we essentially become conditioned to those different beliefs, those different ways of life that people want us to show up. However, for women, a lot of times that conditioning boils down to, be a good girl, do the right thing, be perfect. It's better to give than to receive. Like, there's so many different things that can come out of it, but those are three of the main ones that generally show up for women. And so when I go back to that question, are you are you being the person that you were meant to be right now, or are you still living a conditioned you? And that was almost like a dagger in my heart. Like, it was painful in my heart because, my gosh, I've done like so much work in the area of self-improvement and self-growth and inner work and thought work and feeling work, that like, it was like, how on earth could I still be that a conditioned part of me, like living a conditioned part of me? And the challenge is, like, you have to get brutally honest with yourself in those types of questions. And even hearing that question for yourself, you may have something just kind of brewing up in you right now, was like, oh, like, it's a feeling that just doesn't feel comfortable. And it requires, as I mentioned, you to get brutally honest with yourself. Now, when I am required to get brutally honest with myself, sometimes it leads to resistance. A lot of times it leads to resistance. And that resistance is like, puts me on the verge of breaking down, right? And the thing that we have to remember is, on the other side of breakdown, there's a breakthrough. So to be able to move through some of this uncomfortableness in self-growth, always know that on the other side of it, there is a breakthrough. So when I sat with that question, you know, am I am I still living, or is there parts of me that is still living that conditioned me? And when I was brutally honest, the answer was yes. Yes, that not all of me, but there are still parts of me connected to different experiences or topics or situations, or how I want to show up in the world, or being afraid of something, right? That is all conditioned. So there are parts of me that still retreat back to that conditioned me. And that like is so painful in so many ways because you're not honoring, like I'm not honoring my true self that way. And so I had to think like, why? Why am I still in that position of living that conditioned me? And it's because it feels safe. It feels familiar. There's no risk required when I stay in that space because that conditioned me, like that's pulling layers and it's shedding the skin like a snake and returning back to that true, beautiful essence of you. And those layers have been built on for years, decades in many cases. So to peel that all back, it's like you are being super vulnerable and it's going to require a lot of courage. It's going to require you to be so brave in so many ways. But yet, when we break down those barriers, right, those layers and expose ourselves, it allows us to break through. And on the other side of that, it doesn't feel, when you're going through it, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a good feeling, but it is. And all those things that like bubble to the surface, that's the work yet that is still there to work on, to uncondition yourself, to pull back those layers, to shed that skin, and allows you to transform it. Keep in mind, like energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. So how do we transform that energy of that conditioned self back into that true self, like moving that energy? And the interesting part of this is like, if I wouldn't have had somebody look outside from, from the outside lens, because when we're in it, like we're so narrow focused, we can't see it all. Like I wouldn't have had this opportunity to expand myself, to really go deeper and listen to my heart in a whole new way. So I spent a lot of the week, a lot of last week, just doing deeper work, listening to my heart, even at a whole new level, and really developing my intuition at a different level as well. So as I did that, I had, three different situations come up for my week. So the beginning of the week when I was, working on this, it was the message that came through was like, stop hiding. That and that whole message of stop hiding again is like almost like a slap in the face, like the dagger in the heart, right? Because it's so comfortable to hide. It's so comfortable to stay where I am. But again, it requires vulnerability and courage. And I really had to work on opening my heart because when our heart is closed and our heart closes for a variety of reasons, even stress can begin to close the heart. Different events, different situations that have happened to us over time, right? Like that gets layered on us and it almost decreases our capacity within our hearts. So to break through some of that and open that up is such a beautiful thing, but it requires us, in my case here, to stop hiding. When I got to the middle of the week, it was, okay, you have to rest and recharge. And so I did, so much work at the beginning. The middle of the week then required me, like go on walks, get outside, nourish your body in a whole new way, do some energy testing on what different supplements are good for you. Maybe you have to increase certain supplements. So, I did all that. Just even pausing and relaxing and just being without anything else going on. And then the message that came through at the end of the week was like, own your power and own it from a place where it isn't the conditioned self, right? It isn't that ego self coming through. Own it from a place that is aligned with your heart. Um, when you go into that conditioned place, you'll know because it offers resistance. Negative emotions start to come up. And when you're in that space of resistance and negative emotions, you have to create that awareness that okay, I'm in this space. I need to shift out of that, because without knowing where you are in that energy, you're only going to bring other things in that is not aligned with your heart. So you have to really trust your heart and move in the direction of your heart. Now, this podcast is a prime example of really aligning with my heart, because I had actually all week to record this. I'm recording it on a Friday. I had all week to do it, but when I thought about it, like, there was nothing that really inspired me. There was nothing that really filled my heart, nothing that brought me fulfillment, nothing that felt good. So I could have d- created this from a place of force, from my ego. But guess what? It wouldn't have landed with you. My message wouldn't have radiated with you or other women. So why would I want to put forth that effort if it isn't going to bring me fulfillment or you fulfillment in any way? So when we again align with ourselves and listen to our heart, like, everything flows at a whole different way. It's easy. As I mentioned, like, it brings me fulfillment because I know this message was meant for you to hear. And what I want to kind of wrap up with you here is that the heart always knows. The heart doesn't lie because it's perhaps been hurt or neglected in some way. The heart doesn't lie because the heart is filled with forgiveness. The heart is filled with love, and that doesn't resonate with lying. So if you heard my phone ring right there, that may be a message that I am in alignment with this podcast, because that phone rarely rings. Now, one last thing I want to share with you is that don't be afraid to turn the volume down on the vicious voice. Don't be afraid to turn the volume down on the voice that doesn't serve you. And don't be afraid to turn the volume up on to hear the heart, right? Don't be afraid to hear that message, the heart's whispers, because the heart's message is simply magical, and you deserve to tap into that magic. Now, one of the things that I did is really to get some validation with my heart path. And I did that by, like, looking at my birth date and the energy of the numbers within my birth date. And yes, we shouldn't require validation, but you know what? Sometimes it is so helpful to us to have that validation, to, again, allow us to move on a path that takes our heart and expands it in a whole new way. And so if you are looking to have, like, more fulfillment, and you definitely want to know, like, what's your heart path, and what is the meaning of life, and where should I be taking this, and how do I listen to my heart at a whole new level, I invite you just to have this session with me so that you can indeed learn more about your heart path. And we do that just by simply looking at your birth date. There's so much magic in the numbers of your birth date that you don't even realize. So I don't have the website up and ready for this yet. If this is something you're interested in, make sure you just message me on social media. My handles are at Michelle Shutter, or email me at hello@lifecoachingclassroom.com, because this heart path will crack things open for you in a whole new way. So that's it for today. I would love to hear what's landing with you. I would love for you to share this message with someone else that really needs to tap into their heart, because it is our heart that never lies. When we can reconnect with our true self, beautiful things happen, and we don't have to do that by sacrificing love, wealth, family, freedom, or fulfillment. Our lives were meant to be fulfilling, to be meaningful, to be heart-centered with our true self. So have an amazing day, be an amazing you, and I will see you in class. Have you joined our monthly unit study? If not, you better head on over and reserve your seat at lifecoachingclassroom.com/unit. The unit study gives you an opportunity to experience life coaching at no charge. Again, register and get all the details at lifecoachingclassroom.com/unit. I do have a favor. Could you take a moment to share this podcast and Life Coaching Classroom with your besties? Perhaps they too are tired of running down the meh and mundane hallways of life. Let's give them a little spark in their day. Finally, I'd be so grateful if you take a minute to review the podcast. The reviews definitely help to spread the podcast to more women. Thank you. I so appreciate you, and I will see you in class.